Miss Doherty, and this is Art 2 for 10th to 12th graders. Today, we're going to be talking about collage and personal identity.
What is collage? What materials and techniques do we use? What can collage represent? How is historical collage different from contemporary collage? Let's start by looking at these three works of art. On the left is Susan Reedy's Lasso. Next is Lorna Simpson's Reunited in Ice, number 26. And on the right is a collage by Stephanie Moon, which is untitled. Take a minute to look at these. How do you interpret them? While we only have black and white images of Reedy's and Moon's work, we can imagine how different color schemes might convey different meanings. Through the selection of their materials, the way they altered and attached these materials into their collages, the artists were able to explore and convey their identities and who they are to us. Reedy's collage might talk more about her inner thoughts, which is conveyed by how she filled the space and layered text on top of one another. Simpson's collage might tell us about where or how she spends her time based on her images. She may also be implying her social status or what she wishes it was. Moon's image may be more difficult to dissect, but I see sewing patterns and table napkins. This makes me think about what Moon is saying about gender and the expectations that are placed on her. How might we use images, colors, and shapes to convey aspects of our identity? What colors represent you? What images help convey things about you?
Today, I'm going to show you how collecting your materials and altering them can help you explore your identity.
First, we need to talk about safety. You all know how to use scissors and rulers, but remember that when we use X-Acto knives, it's important to cut away from ourselves and to keep our hands away from the blade. Make sure you're cutting on a self-healing mat. When you're not cutting, the cap should be on the blade and the blade should be on the table. The first step is to pick a magazine, book, or other printed material to go through. Look for one with a good variety of images, texture, and text. I'm choosing this one because it shows art and I identify as an artist, which I want to convey in my collage. Start by looking through your magazine and tearing out pages that have images you want to use. For now, you don't have to cut out specific parts, just the page you want to use. You can tear them one of two ways. The first option is to tear the page out, but it runs the risk of ripping the paper. It helps to keep your hand close to the seam and tear slowly as you go. The second option creates a cleaner cut. Place a ruler opposite the page you want to rip and tear against the ruler. This will help make sure you don't tear the page and is quicker than using scissors.
As you gather materials, it may be helpful to sort them into different piles. Sort them into piles according to color, texture, or pattern, or whatever makes sense to you. This will help you stay organized and make it easier to find things. Here I have a pile of texture, text, and images I think I might want to use.
Once you have gathered your pages, it's time to alter them. You can tear them, cut them, or use an X-Acto knife for an exact cut. You can also use scrapbooking scissors. Here, I'm using scrapbooking scissors to cut out some text. You may also consider leaving some of the text unreadable and cutting out half a word. Move the paper around your scissors instead of vice versa. This will help you get clean cuts. With X-Acto knives, we do the opposite and trace around the image with the blade. Again, remember we're using our self-healing mat and keeping our fingers out of the way. Experiment with the different types of cuts and tears you can make. As you cut out pieces, you can begin placing them into collages. We're going to wait until the end to glue things down. This way, you can arrange things as you work. You can see here that I'm beginning to arrange my collage materials. I've selected things like the flowers to show that I really identify as feminine. I've also selected things like some impressionist painting texture because I identify as an artist. As you can see here, I'm just using some different colored construction paper to break up the space and break up those textures. I've also chosen to include part of a calendar because I really identify with being organized and having to plan out my time.
When you're ready to attach, you have a few different options. There's a variety of glue for you to choose from. The Elmer's glue and the tacky glue can be dispensed straight from the bottle. You can dot it or draw a line with it, but you can also smooth it out with a paintbrush. Mod Podge can also be applied with a paintbrush. With any of these glues, you can add water to it to make it more fluid and give it a thinner consistency. One tip is to put the water into your cup before adding the glue so that you can make sure that you don't add too much water. Try different paintbrushes. Try a foam core brush, try a smaller paintbrush, or try one with harder bristles and see what your results are. When you've applied your glue, make sure to smooth down your attachments around the edges especially to make sure that they don't come up. You can do this with cardboard, a brayer, or even the back of a spoon. Although be careful because some thinner papers like magazine paper or scrapbook paper will rip when you rub cardboard over it. When you're all done, it's time to clean up. If you have a wet collage, make sure to walk it over to the drying rack to dry. If you have any paper scraps, make sure to put small pieces in the recycling bin and to save any bigger pieces that we might be able to reuse. If your X-Acto blade has become dull, remember to change the blade out for a new one.
To change the blade in an X-Acto knife, first remove the cap and wrap the blade in masking tape. This is to prevent cuts while we change the blade. It's important to change your blade after every few uses to avoid a dull blade and creating tears in your paper instead of cuts. Twist the bottom of the X-Acto knife to loosen the blade and then remove the dull blade. Make sure you put the dull blade into the blade container so that no one gets hurt taking out the trash. Then get a new blade and put it into the top of a knife. Twist the bottom of the knife while holding the top of the blade to retighten. If you use the paintbrush with your glue, it's very important to wash it out so the paintbrush can be used again. Go over to the sink and turn the water on. Run the brush under water and then push the brush into the palm of your hand repeatedly to clean it before squeezing the extra water out of the bristles.
Remember that if you got any glue on the table, to wipe it up. You can't work effectively in a dirty workspace. Okay, that's it. Remember, I want you to create a collage while thinking about your self-identity and how you can use colors, textures, images, and patterns to convey this. To start, I want you to get out your sketchbooks and start to list out how you identify, or what you would say if someone asks, so tell me about yourself. Are you an artist, an athlete? What does gender mean to you? Are you a brother, sister, cousin, friend? How can we display this visually? I'll be around to talk about ideas and answer any questions you may have. Thanks for watching.
Visual arts standards. Engage in making a work of art or design without having a preconceived plan. Shape an artistic investigation of an aspect of present-day life using contemporary practice of art and design.